There are some historical celebrities that has really earned this status of immortality, like Socrates and usually the bad guys is like Hitler and people like him. Another of these who has become very popular referent as when measuring evil and cynicism and non-humanitarian way of looking at humans is this guy. Actually do not know much about him other than his name and his famous book. I'm talking about Machiavelli. And he wrote his book addressed to some beloved feudal princeling, and we among those more sentimental social liberal assholes, his very favorite reference to everything that they fight against. It's just that one, he was living in ancient times, not sure, but I believe it was 14th century our time. Two, this is not ideological matters. It's about political tactics, and they're based upon how things happen to be organized, how things worked in these days. Perhaps society weren't quite as civilized as we may believe it to be these days. There were no sentimental social liberals at that time, whatever they might actually claim. Not in a modern sense, anyway. But reading this scripture of his in a more neutral way, reading it for what it is, you must admit that he was intellectually very sharp, perfect example of what I mentioned, extroverted thinking. This is what you need to do to survive, but apart from that, to reach your goals. And an emperor, prince, whatever at that time what's his job, what's his duty? It's ruling, granting some room and some power for his honorable family, his preserving his name for future generations, and so on. And this Machiavelli tries to explain to this princeling, this is how that is done, that this is what's actually required of you. Then if this prince would be the humanitarian to accept this, well, that's his business. Then he might have himself and his family killed and be soaking his name with dishonor for all times, which probably he wouldn't want to. So here he gets this manual, handbook, guide, how to rule, how to be a prince of the Dark Ages. And that's about it. A rather clever guy, I would say. We have no reason judging the contents, doing any ideological statements out of this. It's just plain silly. I do have some point that I'm slowly trying to approach even now, and that is that it's just as relevant to this day, because working within the system, I was about to say that you can't get very far. In fact, you can go very far, but that's not the essential part of this. It's how exactly you use, or how you how you claim the power. And I don't think there's any better manual in the world than this scripture of Machiavelli. I'm not recommending anyone actually to draw any conclusions or use this as wisdom or an actual manual for their own lives. More like some people already do, whether or not they've actually read Machiavelli. This is the way to success, because in this case it's actually is a zero-sum game. The power that you require for your own is always taken from someone else. And you might have any opinion you like about this. This is how things work, and accept it or change things or lay down and die, asshole.